Okay, fellow marks, it's time for the Smackdown Lowdown. Excuse me. Pardon me. McDonald's. Call me. Let's talk turkey, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, the show opens with one of, whoa! I kicked my computer. The show opens with one of the Miz's best promos in a calendar year, right? Last couple of weeks, it's been building to all this. He comes out, he says, I mean, pretty much everything you could have hoped he would say to try to make himself sound like a normal dude and not quite so awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like he came out and talked about how he's just a dude from Cleveland and he's supposed to be working at his dad's Mr. Hero, which I looked up. Is like a submarine sandwich shop over in Cleveland, and his dad actually does own like 5 of them. So he kind of makes it sound like he should still be working at a fast food joint, but he doesn't hide the fact that his dad owns the fast food joint he's talking about. And while that wouldn't be the most terrible existence, you could be working at a fast food joint that your dad didn't own. Like, you know what I'm saying? Which totally sucks. Probably most people watching this, myself included, have done that at one point in time, and it blows. Anyway, but money's money, right? I ain't trying to trash on fast food work or anything like that. I myself, still to this day, I wait tables in a restaurant. That's what I do for money, you know. Anyway, not to get all. But yeah, The Miz comes out, does just about everything you could hope for him to do to make him sound just like everybody else a little bit. And he's heartbroken. And people told him to watch out for Shane, that Shane was a bad dude. And he makes more of an effort to, again, we are now in the era of the corporate bad guy. Again, we're going corporate bad guy. Not enough compelling stuff. I would say that there's not enough compelling heels in the company right now for there to be anybody for the faces to feud with. And that's why we have to have the corporate bad guy. The Miz comes out in this promo and says that Shane, you weren't born best in the world. You're a McMahon. You were born bad or something like that. You're born evil. You're born the worst. You get the picture. And this isn't bad or nothing. Like I'm into it. I'm excited about it. You can see I'm excited about it. I'm just trying to be realistic about what it means for everybody else, like the talent in the company, and for us, what it says about all of it, that we're back to an era where the McMahons kind of have to be the bad guy. I'd say an era, and maybe that's an over-exaggerated term, makes it sound long-term and stuff. But we are at a point right now where the McMahons have to be the bad guy. And I think they're trying various things with Ronda Rousey, with Charlotte Flair, with Daniel Bryan, with Drew McIntyre to fix that a little bit. But I was going to say, when people talk, when experts, but you know, people who lived through it, were big wrestling fans, older than me at the time, guys who would have been doing what I'm doing now, probably even better had they had the access and the technology or whatever to do with that. Those are the kind of guys I'm talking about. And then you get even bigger than that. You get guys who actually discuss wrestling professionally. When they talk about the Attitude Era, they remind us that the big reason that Vince McMahon had to come out and be the big heel for Austin and Rock and to involve, to make Rock a heel by their association and things like that. The reason he had to do all that is because there weren't compelling heels for Austin to feud with in the company at the time. And that's what they say about the Attitude Era and why they had to do that during the Attitude Era. And like right now, certainly isn't the first time since then that we've had, big stories involving. I mean, they seem to do it every so often. I'm not trying to act like this is a brand new thing, but it's a brand new thing for the last 12 months of WWE that we've been seeing over the last. I mean, you would think maybe it started with that Christmas Eve show when the McMahons came out and said they were back in charge or whatever, but it really seems to have come full force within the last 50 days, 40 days, something like that. So this is still kind of a new thing right now with corporate really being the bad guy. And I think what it actually says, rather than saying like the Attitude Era did, that there aren't good heels, I think in this case it's the faces who are lacking a little bit now, because the company maybe 6 months ago didn't have good heels, but Daniel Bryan is a great heel. He's been fantastic. Drew McIntyre's been great on Raw, especially lately. I don't think this is an indictment. I don't think this is an indictment of the company's heels right now. I think this says more about, I don't know, maybe it is. Because there's certainly nothing wrong with Becky Lynch as a face. But when I see guys like Seth Rollins, who I'm a fan of, but there's something about him to me that just still seems like he's maybe kind of a mid-carder. That sounds so terrible to say. He's not. Just pretend I didn't say that. But you get what I'm saying, though. Like, they could use a little, even their best faces, with the exception of maybe Becky Lynch, could use a little bit of help getting over and giving us something to want them to fight for. That's my point. It's not that Seth's talent is, or even his charisma. It's the writing maybe and the booking, I guess, Either way, the Miz comes out, he does his promo thing. The last couple of weeks, the Iconics have been ripping Sasha and Bayley about not showing up on SmackDown Live to defend the women's tag titles. That's why the fight on this episode of SmackDown. Lacey Evans shows up for apparently no reason other than to remind us that she exists. The Iconics get a cheap little win, and the titles didn't change hands, and that was surprising to me because apparently I thought it was a title match. And so I was like, what? I was like really shocked when the Iconics won. Now, not so much. Rey Mysterio comes out with his gigantic son and announces that he'll be facing Samoa Joe for the United States title at WrestleMania. And that's a little bit of a letdown for me, as I was kind of hoping that Andrade would be involved in a program with Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, because they've been so visually awesome. Like just the wrestling in the ring has been great. I'm not the hugest fan of some people really appreciate the lucha style more than the classic American style and stuff like that. And then there's all kinds of styles, British strong style and Japanese strong style and countless others really. I like all of it. I like the way the brawlers fight. I like watching those matches. I like the way the heavyweights do their thing. I like watching guys who are super technical, like Zack Sabre Jr. And I like watching. I mean, Ricochet is amazing to watch, and I enjoy that stuff. And even like Lucha House Party and stuff like that. Like, I enjoy watching those guys. So I'm not trying to say I'm not a big fan of the lucha style. I'm just trying to say I don't think it's necessarily better than anything else, but it's so entertaining to watch those two work a match that I was really hoping that would be going on at WrestleMania. And I suppose that there's still a chance that that'll get expanded into a multi-man match. They certainly, like I mentioned on the Raw video, they're going to want to get as many people involved in WrestleMania as possible. They always do. And I would expect multi-man matches for all of the mid-card titles. I would expect multi-man matches for both women's titles. I mean, obviously, we know we're getting a multi-man match for the Raw women's title, but I kind of am expecting one for the SmackDown one, too. I have no idea who it's going to involve at this point, but kind of am expecting it. So it would not surprise me at all if this was made a triple threat match with Andrade involved. I kind of crossing my fingers it does, to be honest with you. Not that Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe is not going to be a great match, because it is. And if that's what we get, I won't be disappointed. Like, that'll be great. We get a Kevin Owens show segment that features Charlotte and Becky. And when Becky was introduced, she got the biggest pop of anybody through two days of WWE television shows. Eventually, in the interview, Kevin Owens kind of pokes some prods and gets him to fight. And I'm really excited for the match at WrestleMania, but maybe I'm crazy, but I'm not so entertained by the outside the match brawls and stuff anymore. I would rather see the way they did it at Elimination. I think it was Elimination Chamber. That was cool to me. When it is maybe a little bit misdirected, like it interrupts a match or it interrupts an interview, but you have both of them sitting out there. We know they're going to fight. We already knew they were going to fight. This was not, it just didn't have to happen, I don't think. So I'd not to say that I'm bored of the rivalry or anything like that. I just think they need to book it a little bit more creatively, because it's not even like this stuff is bad. The little brawl on the set of the Kevin Owens show, that wasn't bad. It just could have been way better. It could have been a better segment. They could do better things with this rivalry. I mean, maybe Ronda could have showed up. That would have been more entertaining. Anyway. I don't think it's weighing down like the total value of the feud or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to jump off board of this thing. I'm just trying to like be a little bit realistic and say that I'm also at the same time very glad WrestleMania is soon. AJ Styles comes out to rib Randy Orton a little bit, and I'm still really excited about their match. Anytime you get a chance to see, I mean, either one of those guys, really, I'm pretty excited. They're fun to watch. I'm no fan of AJ Styles, but his wrestling, I love watching him wrestle. I just don't like his shtick. Daniel Bryan comes out to kind of set the record straight and clear the air about Kofi Kingston. Comes out and says a lot of things that, quite frankly, are true about the Kofi situation, that Kofi didn't win the gauntlet match, the first one before Elimination Chamber. He didn't win at Elimination Chamber. And that's just kind of the way it is. He's interrupted by the New Day, and Kofi as well, because the gauntlet match is set to begin, and Kofi's first opponent in the gauntlet match is Sheamus, and together they make for a match full of entertaining little dramatic little spots and storytelling and setting up what was to happen throughout the rest of the gauntlet match. Kofi beat Sheamus after countering he countered a Brogue Kick, went for a pin. Sheamus kicked out, and then Kofi went for a Trouble in Paradise kick of his own and got the win. But almost immediately after that, Cesaro makes a little heel entrance to his portion of the gauntlet match by attacking Kofi from behind and not really having like an official beginning. It was I guess he was assisted in doing that by the fact that him and his tag partner had matches back to back, and he was kind of out there for his tag partner's match. He kind of calling back to the story of the previous match with Sheamus. Cesaro starts off with like submissions that are and attacks that are really low, like kind of directed at Kofi's lower back and his legs. And then, that's nice. I like that stuff. It helps me to have a little rhyme a reason for the rhyme a little bit, for well, why is he doing this particular thing? Well, in this match, you don't have to look back to even just something he did earlier. You can look back to a bunch of stuff that Sheamus did earlier. And overall, for people that are paying attention, I think that's good. I like that. And a lot of other promotions, their butter is like their butter is breaded. Their bread's buttered on in-ring storytelling like that. That the WWE, I think, puts on the back burner a lot of the time because they do so much of their storytelling in a more soap opera type format, variety show type format. Either way, Kofi dispatches Cesaro, and Rowan is making his way to the ring, and Rowan loses his portion of the gauntlet match via disqualification, but he continues to just pummel Kofi after he's already been disqualified. Puts him through a bounce table. Kofi's left in a heap, basically, and Samoa Joe makes his way to the ring with Kofi still wiped out. We go to commercial, and when we come back, they're back in the ring, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Kofi manages to best Samoa Joe, but Samoa Joe attacks him afterwards and leaves him in terrible condition for when Randy Orton comes out. We get another callback in this little match to the stupid event between Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton from a few years ago that we got a callback to in the last gauntlet match where Kofi said it to Randy. And Kofi's looking wiped out at this point. And it seems like he's going to lose. And at this point, he's been out here for basically an hour. I can't imagine the cardio one would have to have, really, to be in the ring that long, working the whole time, pretty much. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. I think in my current shape, I could probably, just from a cardio standpoint, not toughness, not trying to like make myself sound tough or whatever. Just from a cardio standpoint, I think I could maybe last 2 minutes. 2 minutes of being in a wrestling ring and working. Like working. 2 minutes. Kofi counters an RKO though, and hits Orton with Trouble in Paradise, but Orton rolls out before Kofi can take advantage. And a couple minutes later, eventually Kofi kind of rolls up a confused Randy Orton and gets a win. Gets a pin, gets the win. We get a big celebration. Kofi's going to WrestleMania. Vince McMahon eventually comes out, though, and, it was no surprise when his music cue hit because I had kind of, looked, and there was still, a good 10 minutes left in this TV episode, or should have been. So either we went massively short on time or something else was still going to happen. And so when Vince McMahon's music cue hit, we all know some sort of shenanigans was probably coming. Vince comes out and says, "Hey, congratulations, Kofi! You're going to WrestleMania." But here's the thing: you're going to WrestleMania if you can beat one more person, and that's the reigning champion, Daniel Bryan. So Daniel Bryan comes out, and Kofi is just wrecked and wiped out at this point, and him and Daniel Bryan actually put on a really, really good 5-minute match that involves a bunch of near falls on Kofi, and actually a couple near falls for Kofi as well. Actually, it was I really actually thought that he was going to win a couple of times, and he doesn't. Daniel Bryan gets the victory after a running knee. And that's kind of all she wrote for SmackDown. A bunch of people are going to be really upset that Kofi didn't win. And I kind of understand why they would be, But I also kind of understand why this decision was made. It keeps the heat on the McMahons and on the evil corporate, keeps it going. Kofi has earned his position in this match over and over and over again, really, in the last 2 months. It's really, he should be in the match. And the only reason he's not is because someone's working against him. And this makes ultimately for a better story than, I think, than just having Kofi win. And now we get the next 2 weeks until WrestleMania to be comfortable with that. This is kind of like when you're watching a movie and you don't want anything bad to happen to the main character, but you're only halfway through the movie. So something is. And this is that. It's just in the meantime, we all get to be upset about it. Myself included. All right, I'll see you guys later.